Coming up on this edition of Flash Talk, brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling, we sit down with head ball coach Kenni Burns to discuss the game against Miami and a look ahead to the Ohio Bobcats. Wide receiver Chrishon McCray talks about how he fell in love with the game of football. Dr. John Gunstad stops by to see how we get an edge off the court thanks to his work in the classroom. Haley Eckerman will give us a breakdown of Western Michigan and Northern Illinois. As always, we take a look around Kent State athletics, and that's all coming up in a flash. Welcome inside the GFTV studios. It's another episode of Flash Talk. As always, we're brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin alongside head ball coach Kenni Burns. And coach, as always, thank you for a few moments of your time to talk shop.
Absolutely.
Let's start a little bit with the game against Miami. Defense, I thought, played lights out. And again, it is a team effort. No one guy really kind of jumped off the stat page, but instead about 15 guys had really stellar games. And that kind of stymied a Red Hawk offense.
Yeah, our defense did a good job of still growing and developing each week. And you saw some guys play together. Again, we hadn't seen that in a couple of weeks. I thought they got back to who they are, which was good. And I think they've got a lot to build off of that last game.
Yeah, it's certainly a confidence booster. You hold another opponent third time this year to 300 yards or fewer, and it's got to at least bring a smile to you and Coach Duggan's face.
Yeah, we like to see us growing in the right direction, but there's still so many things we still can improve. When you talk about being able to limit the explosive plays, being able to get more takeaways, there's stuff that we still can do way better, and we know that can make the difference in the game.
We'll have Chrishon McCray on here in a few minutes. A little bit of a breakout game for him. We've seen him kind of knocking on the door of making some explosive plays. 10 catches, 105 yards. We get the ball in his hands on a reverse. Just talk about his growth and really kind of stepping in as one of the big playmakers on this team.
Yeah, I think the first 3 or 4 games you saw us, again, trying to identify who we are, who is our playmakers. Again, 11 new faces. What can our quarterback do? What can our O-line do? I think you're starting to see us kind of find out who those people are, and we're starting to put it together offensively, which I knew would happen. And he's one of those guys with the ball in his hand. He's extremely dynamic. He takes care of the ball. He can make guys miss in space. He's got good hands. Him with Jamil Gardner, I think you're starting to see some growth there. Then you throw Terrell Harris in that mix, and now you've really got some really good dynamic receivers that a year or two from now are going to be guys that we're really proud of.
Jamil has got some of the strongest hands that I've seen. Some of the catches that he's been able to make on the sidelines has been very impressive. And he was a guy that we knew about when he first got here as a freshman, was really taking some strides and coming into his own each of the last 2 games.
Yeah, he's a guy that I can say this, he works extremely hard at it. He's not the most natural ball catcher actually, but it's something that he really works at before practice, after practice, during practice. So that's a credit to him. We kind of gave him some things that he needed to work on after the first 2 or 3 games, and the young man's really worked hard at it.
Talk about the kind of the strides that the offense has made. Michael Limo getting on the same page with the receivers at times, and like you said, with an RPO, that a lot of that is timing, and I think that him and Chrishon have gotten a pretty good relationship, a good thing going.
Yeah, we I know people have a hard time seeing it, but we are growing on offense. It's just putting it all together, 11 guys. I think Mike's doing a good job leading. He's still growing as a leader each week. I think each week it's a different guy that he's having to lead, or a different phase of the game that he's having to lead, but he's getting there. And each time I'm looking for, okay, who's growing and who's not? And if a guy's not, why is he not growing? How can we make him better? And I think that's what we got to do as coaches on offense. You got to make sure you guys are developing in the right direction. We said at the beginning of the year, we're not worried about the result. Do not worry about it. Just make sure your position group is getting better every single week. And I'm not changing from that. I'm not going to divert off that because we're winning or losing. It's who we are. And I know down the road, it'll pay big dividends for our program.
Well, obviously the next challenge is going 1-0 in Ohio week. Bobcats coming off a bye. What do they present as far as the challenge ahead?
Really good football team. Obviously, they're a team that was also kind of picked in that top of the West division to win it. A team that won the league last year, I believe, won their side last year, and then had a quarterback, I think was a player of the year. So a lot of talent, guys who played well together for a while, guys who do their jobs. And when you watch them, just like Miami, you see a lot of guys just doing their job and really executing their assignment on every single play, which is something we're trying to strive for here. I know Coach Albin does a good job with discipline. We both are kind of from that North Dakota State background, so it'll be a good challenge for a football program.
Another trip on the road this time, obviously in the MAC, and just talk about the challenge to play a one of you said like a conference leader, but in their house going in and taking the trip down to Athens.
Yeah, I love Maction. Right, it's a good feel, good venues, great college atmospheres. They've had some really good crowds up to this point, so it'll be another dynamic atmosphere. But we're looking forward to the challenge. They're right up the road, not too far, and our guys will get up there on Friday night and get ready what we do, and get ready to beat them.
Well, it'll be a 3:30 kickoff, and that's on ESPN Plus. Coach Kenni Burns, thank you very much, as always, for a few moments of your time.
Yep, thank you, and go Flashes, King Grip.
Welcome back to Flash Talk. We're live inside the GFTV studios, and as always, brought to you by Brian Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin alongside Kent State wideout Chrishon McCray. Chrishon, thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time to join us here on the set.
Yep, no problem.
Let's talk a little bit about your football journey. You're a redshirt freshman here with the Golden Flashes. When did you start playing and fall in love with the game?
I started playing around the age of 6 years old. My older brother played, so I always looked up to him. I always wanted to be like him, so I started playing from a young age.
Were you always a wide receiver, or was that just everybody's trying out a position you kind of figured out?
I've always been running back up until coming here.
Okay.
And so I got recruited here as a slot receiver, so that's when I made the change.
At what point during your high school career did you kind of figure out, hey, I've got a shot to do this at the next level?
Probably sophomore year.
Okay. So obviously you said you were a running back. You kind of did a little bit of everything at Avon, and you've done a little bit of everything here this year for the Golden Flash. It's kind of a Weapon X type of thing. So just talk about the adjustment to being a wide receiver and getting the ball in your hands in space.
It's definitely, I feel like, more convenient for me, a smaller guy, smaller frame. So definitely getting the ball in space, having to break less tackles from less bigger guys, has definitely helped me out a bunch.
Now, obviously, it's a brand new offense here this year, personnel-wise. Just talk about getting on the same page with your fellow wide receivers and obviously quarterback Michael Imo.
I think we definitely do a great job in practice, trying to build that connection. I think Coach Burns does a great job building the connection outside of the field and stuff like that. So I feel like we've come together as an offense.
Now, you obviously have experience as both a running back and a wide receiver. So what's more fun for you to do? Catch a big pass over the middle and break it, or are we taking it up the gut 80 yards for a touchdown off the handoff?
Probably a big catch. Yeah, I like those more.
Now, is there a player, obviously growing up just outside of Indianapolis, Reggie Wayne guy, or are you a guy that you kind of look to other guys to model your game off of, or you just do your own thing?
I just do my own thing.
To me, watching you play, and it's been a lot of fun over these 5 games. You got a little Debo Samuel, I think, a little bit to you, to where just get the ball in your hands, get you in space, let you kind of do your thing.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much just try to do what I can when I get the ball in space. Try to get as much yards as possible. Now,
away from the gridiron, what do you like to do to unwind, relax, be with the teammates or roommates, friends?
I like going bowling and golfing a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
So what's your high game on the lanes there?
234.
That's impressive. That's well done. How about on the links?
I'm not very good, so I don't really keep track. So I don't really know.
All right. Now, are you a big drive guy, or are you more kind of control, keeping the fairway? We're going to get to the green. If it takes me 5 strokes to get to the green, hey, at least I'm not in the middle of the woods.
I'm not that big of a drive guy. I'm pretty good at pitching wedge, though.
All right. The short game. That's where the strokes are made up usually.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is your major in the classroom?
Sports admin.
Okay. So obviously you love the world of sports. What do you want to do with that in addition to your football career?
Maybe like a college recruit, something along that sort. Just being around sports is my main goal.
When you say, like, are you talking more on the football side, or when you say recruiting, do you want to work in an athletic department, or are you more of a team focused kind of guy?
Probably athletic department type.
You and I should probably talk.
Well,
Chrishon McCray, thank you very much for a few moments of your time, and keep finding yourself open in the middle of the field.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a look at what's going on around Kent State sports right after this. Let's take a look at what's going on around the world at Kent State Athletics, brought to you by KSUTix.com. Our busy week gets started on Thursday with our women's soccer team taking a trip out to Muncie to take on Ball State. That starts at 4 p.m. Volleyball starts their home weekend against Western Michigan at 6 p.m. It's Throwback Thursday with a retro trucker hat giveaway. On Friday, our field hockey team takes on App State down in North Carolina. That's a 3 p.m. face-off. Volleyball closes its home weekend with the NIU Huskies at 6 p.m. on Unity Night. Saturday afternoon has our football team taking the trek down to Peden Stadium to meet the Ohio Bobcats for a 3:30 p.m. kickoff. And on Sunday, it's a doubleheader of action as women's soccer takes on CMU and field hockey welcomes in the Ohio State Buckeyes. And our men's and women's golf team are in action this week. You can find their results, plus get news and notes from around Kent State at kentstatesports.com. And as always, find us on your favorite social media platform at Kent State Athletics. For Kent State tickets, events, and group ticket information, visit ksutix.com. For a look behind the scenes, press conferences, highlights, and more, follow us on YouTube at GFTV. Welcome back inside the GFTV studios. It's Flash Talk brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin along with Dr. John Gunstad from the Department of Psychology. And Doctor, thank you so much for a few moments of your time. And let's kind of just dive into everything you do and kind of the cross path with Kent State Athletics.
That sounds great. Well, thank you very much for the chance to be here.
Now, your role in all of this is kind of sports science, if you remember that program on ESPN, meets Kent State Athletics. You're looking through research, through labs, through basically science, how to give Kent State an edge on the field of play.
Absolutely. So we developed something called the HERO Initiative, which is the Human Performance Education, Research, and Outreach program here at the university. And the idea, this is a new type of partnership, a new bridge between academics and athletics at the university. So in addition to being able to promote student athletes and their performance on the field and on the court, we're also then being able to provide new training opportunities for students around the university and new research opportunities for faculty, with the idea that both sides can benefit.
So let's just start with one of the more tangible things they can see here in the MAC, and that's our fueling station. That came to be over the last 18 months or so, to where the students are now getting the proper nutrition to fuel their bodies, whether it's recovery from a game or getting ready for practice, so they're not like me and thinking they can eat a thing of Cheetos and then go out and perform at their peak athletic ability.
Exactly. And the fueling station is a wonderful example of this, because it really is the best combination. So on one hand, the student athletes benefit from having better fuel in their body before practice or before a game, better kind of nutrition to be able to recover faster after they perform. But then on the other side, on the flip side, the academic side of this as well, we have students who are manning the station, who are learning about sports nutrition in a very detailed way to launch their careers. And faculty have the opportunity to be able to do research to better inform what we want to do next. So is there types of foods that are better for endurance athletes versus strength athletes, or things that allow people to be able to heal faster?
We hear all about analytics in sports across the board, especially baseball, football, some of the more number-driven sports, and you guys are being able to take that and either present it in a new way or take those numbers and provide even more data and then break it down as to what that kind of means to the student athlete and to the team as a whole.
Absolutely. And that's very much kind of our goal, to be able to start where we have, which is with things like exercise science and nutrition and sports psychology, of helping an individual perform better. And now we want to be able to launch into analytics, which is helping an individual in context or helping with teams. And then the step after that is going to be able to be kind of bigger and grander yet. So can we do things like develop new technology for uniforms? Can we develop new types of AI or virtual reality to help athletes train better and train smarter and train faster? And being able to kind of expand these things, because athletics is not just what a person does on the field or on the court, but it's also things like the fan experience. We have a wonderful marketing department here, or other types of faculty throughout the university who are doing this type of work. And can we enhance the experience of being in the stands or watching this game on television, and being able to kind of provide that top to bottom 360 experience?
We're talking with Dr. John Gunstad, and you mentioned the fan experience. You could almost, to me, that sounds like you're trying to maximize how a stadium is built or what's going on in a stadium to make the home field advantage that much more. So because you can make the experience fantastic, but then if that fan's voice is that much more, where it becomes, whether it's loud, kind of making a 12th man experience, if you will, out in Seattle, where it's just a deafening environment, and then nobody wants to come and play here.
Right, exactly, and that's kind of going to be the goal for all these things, is giving our student athletes an edge, giving our teams an edge, but also being able to better understand these things. So it really is the opportunity for student athletes to benefit, from the teams to benefit, from faculty and staff and students. This is an opportunity for really to be a win-win.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for a few moments of your time and kind of breaking down the analytics and the science side of how a Kent State athlete comes to be.
Well, thank you for the chance to be here.
Earlier this week, we headed out to field hockey practice. Let's take a look.
Simple night. Yeah. I have to tuck Bella in at night and kiss her on her forehead and make her cookies and chocolate milk to go to bed every night. Holy cow, he's huge. Oh my gosh, it's huge. Yes. It's taller than the fence. It's huge. Go for the big red dog. I'm making a paper airplane with my corner card. I don't even know what we're doing. You just did a good job working with Maya a lot on that side. No, there's one with my paper airplane.
Bella wants 20 cats.
Are there capybaras in Rwanda?
I don't know.
Ow! I just whipped myself in the eye. Yeah, my hair whipped me in the eye. Good, Eva! I only got to do one. Oh, yes, good one.
Welcome back to Flash Talk. We are brought to you by Brian Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin alongside head volleyball coach Haley Eckerman and coach get to be in the friendly confines of the MAC here this week for a couple of midweek opponents. So we get a little crossover with Western Michigan and NIU coming to town.
Yeah, I think it'll be nice to, for once, not play the same team back to back, because I think that's almost like a mental game in itself of, okay, they beat us in this spot, or they did this against us, and are they going to do it again, and are they going to change it? And so it's kind of nice to be able to have a refresher the next day and focus on the next opponent versus kind of remembering how the game went the night before.
How much does that mess with either a coach or a student athlete to where you become the victim almost of overthinking everything?
Yeah, I think it's huge for our kids, just because in a sense of, something might have worked the first night and it's not working the second night, or vice versa, or someone might have had a crazy game night one and, night two, it's a whole different thing. So they're trying to counteract and be 2 steps ahead, and we don't need that. And so I think that when we can come in the next day and have a different scouting report and different thing, that helps us.
Well, Thursday night, a really cool promotion is Throwback Thursday. We're going to kind of turn the clock back to the mid-'90s with our logos and some of the giveaways as well. And it is also Aces for Autism. I know that's an organization that is close to you. So talk about how that kind of came to be and what all is going on with that.
Good friend of mine has an organization, and they, we're talking to some football coaches and different things, and trying to find, with football, it's like sacks. So things that don't come about as often, but showing the awareness of it. And so for us, we're going to do ACEs. And so basically every ACE that we get, I'm donating $10 to an organization. He's going to be in town with his group and kind of just spreading more information about autism. And I think it's something huge because nowadays we're seeing that there's this huge spectrum of autism. It's not just like you're fully autistic and it shows. There's different spectrums of it, and how to come about finding out if you are autistic. And I think more people are speaking about it now, but also some safety things. And he's trying to work with the police department and bringing in some stickers so that people can have them on their houses, so that going into situations, people know that someone in their family has autism and can kind of help spread that awareness.
Well, we're an inclusive facility here at the MAC Center, so they can look out for those signs, and obviously that makes it an enjoyable environment for everybody. We did that through Culture City, but I think that's phenomenal to give everybody just a heads up so everybody can be at their best self.
Right.
Now, also on Friday night, NIU comes to town. That's Unity Night. This is all a big thing when it comes to mental health awareness is obviously going on through October, but just the unity and inclusivity of the sport of volleyball and athletics in general.
Right, yeah. So we, our team sat down and kind of talked about who we are and, who we represent. And the list goes on and on of different, cancers and different backgrounds and where we're from and different cultures. And I think that plays a piece of how close our group is, because they understand that everybody comes from a different family and a different background. And I think that the more and more we can showcase that and show our support for others, I think is huge.
To borrow the term, kind of extinguishes the stigma, so to speak, to go, all right, I'm not the only one that's going through this. I can go, and it's okay for me to go and talk to somebody about it.
Yeah, that's huge. That's one of the things. We have our kids do kind of a goal sheet, and 5 of the goals are volleyball, and then I have them pick 2 out of 5, so it's mental, physical, academic, social, and spiritual. And most of our kids, one of the 2 that they pick is mental, just whether it's positive self-talk or being able to handle the pressure of going back and making a serve. I don't think that everybody understands that there's so many different mental pieces that go into it, and how one little obstacle can affect it, and how can they get out of this rut if things aren't going right. And so really working with the girls to understand, that it's okay to talk about things, and being able to create that actual open door policy, and getting them to understand that. You can always say as much as you want that it's an open door and they can come talk to you whenever, but there's still that kind of relationship of, well, it's the head coach. Am I going to get in trouble? Is this going to affect my playing time? And so trying to create that where they also understand how to get through some of these.
Absolutely. So look for the green kind of sprinkled in throughout your guys' uniforms as we go through the month of October. And let's win a couple of crossover games. What do you say?
It works for me.
Join us once again next week when we take another deep dive into the world of Kent State athletics. For all of us inside the GFTV studios, this is Dan Griffin saying goodnight and go Flashes.